But, so the last two classes,
I think they asked you once.
We had class last week.
now I came in here, did you guys cancel early?
Did you see your?
We were in here until, I want to say 12:15.
Okay, because it started at 12, right?
It did start at 12, yeah. Well, last week we did,
Oh, is that okay, right?
we got started late, and then I think we had 6 students that were online, and I just did it from my office.
Yeah, this in class.
But let's talk after class, and then I'll make sure
Online
I
is better than
post
in class.
the,
I think in class
Recording.
is just for.
Okay, because, the class before that you didn't
I
have
think
class.
that
that week we didn't have class.
I never touched
So we're
it.
fine with that. Okay, group, let's jump in and get started. Today we are going to go through resumes. And I know that this is a topic that quite a few students have asked about. Probably this is one of the concepts that I get the most questions about. As usual, we'll jump through 1 or 2, thank you very much, slides. Before we jump into material. So housekeeping notes. First and foremost, I noticed that everybody still has not gone in and posted picture on Blackboard profile. So if you haven't done that, please do so. Picture's your choice, but again, I think that that's an important thing as we're all still getting to know each other. Show of hands, eBay account. Who's got one, who doesn't?
I have.
Very good. I was giving the other student who doesn't have one the eye. Do I need to make any comments, or next week when I ask this question, this is where, no, Mr. Fletcher, I will sign up for eBay.
I got you.
Thank you, sir. There was a question?
Oh, no,
Okay. Let's see.
I also have eBay, that's all.
Yeah, so the point is to make sure that students at least have the account set up. There's 2 main reasons that right now I think it's essential that everybody has eBay. Firstly, and hopefully this will not be true in a few weeks, but right now it's the only system that we have to effectively let master students know about opportunities that are there. So if you're not on, you're missing out. I'll also be very frank that the current structure, there aren't a lot of master-focused opportunities, which again is why we talked about Handshake probably 2 classes ago, which is why we're launching Handshake ideally this month, which would be a more focused master's opportunity job board list. So, but again, students should have eBay and Handshake. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we understand the differences. Secondly, eBay is important because through eBay, every single student, masters as well as undergrad, have free access to Glassdoor. I see blank stares. Does anybody want to tell me about Glassdoor and what that site is used for? Because I had talked about it in class. Go for it.
It is for, it of course gives you information about how to prepare for interviews and job opportunities.
Yes.
It's sort of like the eBay account, but it's just more information available to you to prepare you for the,
Yes, everything that you're saying is true and more. So eBay is essentially the job board for corporate partners of Morgan. So Morgan Stanley or Wells Fargo.
Glassdoor is outside of Morgan.
Oh yeah, Glassdoor is
All over,
is all over. That's not limited to any particular university. So one of the main things that Glassdoor is used for is interview prep, as you pointed out. People can go onto Glassdoor and post information about their experiences in interviews.
And interview questions.
And sometimes they do write interview questions. Current employees sometimes list current salaries. So this is one of the main tools when you get into job offer negotiations. We'll be talking about this a lot more, but Glassdoor will let you know essentially what salary range that position is paid for with that company in that market that you're interviewing for. So when the questions begin to come up of, well, what are you expecting to be paid, or what are you earning, you can answer that question truthfully and directly, but not undercut your value because you know what the position's essentially offering. Or if you know what you dictate as an MBA or master's student in the market and that position is lower, then you know, well, maybe I shouldn't even apply. Or maybe I should be focused on a role that's more fit for my role, for my background in education level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I did this question. You could have strangled me and throw me out the door in about 2 seconds
Why would I do that?
because of what I was about to say. Now, when I took all of those tests and everything that you said,
Career assessment.
right,
Okay.
all of that, and of course I did the job thingy,
Yep.
the job list and all that stuff.
Yep.
Okay, none of the jobs I'm even interested in, and of course, and all of the jobs they found for like I wouldn't even consider. And it's like I'm going for an MS and
Men's hospitality,
right,
correct?
and the jobs that and of course eBay and the Glassdoor are nothing. But I'm going for my career. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this.
Able to benefit from.
These programs, like through the offers, through.
Okay, so, well, firstly, we should probably schedule at least 30 minutes, maybe even an hour of one-on-one when you're free to kind of go through a lot more of this in detail. And because, not that your situation is totally unique, but your situation is unique, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because again, I've read through some of the journals and the posts, and I've seen the assessment, so I have a good high level understanding of where you're going, and I understand the gap. But if my intuition is right, you will need quite a few of the skills to get to where I think you want to go, or it may even end up during that conversation I'm planting a seed that you're not thinking about that might spark something. So hold on for a little bit. Don't get completely disenchanted. And
Not get disenchanted.
well, it's okay. That happens. We'll pull you into the fold. Because let's at least have that one-on-one. And Casey, I'm in next week, each day, so probably anytime between Tuesday and Thursday.
Okay, that's good. Thursday's a good one.
Just make sure we
Yeah.
touch base via email. We'll set up a calendar invite. We'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you.
CEVA Logistics is looking for an import-export specialist based in Odenton, Maryland. I did have one student who expressed interest in that role. Not sure if anyone else is interested or anyone has questions, but if so, please follow up with me ASAP, because that one didn't necessarily have a deadline, but will be soon filled, I'm sure. Wells Fargo, just this past week, they are opening the application process for their finance leadership program. It's a program where they bring MBA students down to Charlotte for the summer at their headquarters. If anyone again has questions, wants to know more about it, let's chat. With regards to NSA, we talked a little bit about that previously. National Security Agency Actually, today, there's several members, and Mr. Wells is there, as well as Dr. Fatima. Several members of the Morgan faculty and staff are there at their headquarters, learning more about their offering and expanding the partnership with NSA and Morgan. They're actually on the 23rd of this month going to have a day specifically for students. They are open to undergrad and master's students. One thing that excuse me, everyone some clarity on. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but I want to get absolute clarity on citizenship requirements. Because as you can imagine, NSA and what they do, they're pretty stringent. I mean, even going today, you had to have 2 forms of ID, and you had to let them know ahead of time, social security number and all kinds of stuff just to even get in the building. But if anyone is interested, hold me accountable on that one. I'll make sure that you all get information on it. Education Pioneers, another organization that is looking to partner with us. They actually, I know there are some students who have an interest in education, going into PhD programs, teaching. So they actually place fellows in education organizations, and there's a career track, which is essentially for those of you all who would be finishing the program within a semester or 2, and then there's the summer track for internships. So again, if you all are interested, I can work on getting some deadline information, circle that back with you. If you all know of other classmates who are interested, certainly feel free to share the information with them. Brown PC, they are a consulting firm here in town. They've touched base with us, interested in offering students some book scholarship, stipend information. So essentially forward over a resume if that is something that you all may want to do, and of course make sure you let me know it's Brown, and I'll kind of get your information over to them, and we'll see what we can make happen there. And lastly, National Association of Health Services Executives. They are a industry organization. Their Baltimore chapter actually has developed internship programs. So they actually have partners within their group. So if any of you are interested or have a background in public health and how that ties into business, healthcare in general, let me know. We'll get your background and resume over to them and get you into their pipeline as well. Does that make sense? Any questions? Perfect. So, in talking resumes, key to successful resume, high level here. Firstly, pre-information on the company that you're applying to and industry research. So we spent a lot of time talking about that last week, a little bit of time 2 weeks prior. Why is that important, Mr. Fletcher? Well, that's important because, and we'll get into the nuances of the resume as we move forward. The resume is about getting that employer interested in you. This whole selection process is not about you, it's about the value that you add to them. It's about the experiences that you bring to them and how you can grow and add value. Well, you won't know the answer to that if you don't understand the industry that they're in and the nuances to their company. So step one, even before you start writing your name and your address and your phone number and your email and your LinkedIn URL profile, what you've done, where you went to school, GPA and all of that, make sure you clearly understand who you're going after and what you're going after. Also, what do you want to convey? Especially as a master's level student, what do you want to convey in your resume? You want to convey those next 3 bullets very clearly. Leadership, communication, and innovation. Now, no right or wrong answers here, but let's think through it. How would you, based on what you know right now, convey leadership on your resume?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Experience.
Okay.
So probably if you've been in a leadership position before,
Okay.
you could try and frame it in a concise way how you were a leader in that situation.
Give me 2 examples of how you could have been a leader before and how you demonstrate that in the resume.
Could you say that again?
So how have, not necessarily you specifically, but rhetorically speaking, how could someone,
Say it in a resume.
yes, what would they have done to be able to put a bullet or 2 or what have you on a resume around leadership? Give me 2 examples.
Maybe if you had experience in managing a team,
Yes,
and you had objectives, set goals, which you accomplished with the team.
very important.
So if you find a way to say, so I in past tense, you could say, I worked so and so place, right? When I had a team, we did this, did that, and we achieved this. Right? And if you can put that in a very good way.
Yep, and we'll get into that, but yeah, you're dead on. So that's one way. Can you think of another one?
Another way is to try and put, so for example, you might not have the experience, but you've gotten the knowledge. So probably you've gone for a course, like I'm sitting here in your class and you've already put me through how to go about being a leader. I could say I was at Mr. Fletcher's training leadership academy, and I think I can add value.
Thank you, that
based
sounds
on-
good, yeah, I like that.
So I could say I think I can add value. No, not I think, I can add value based on
Yes.
this. So that's another way I think.
So there is certainly value in the learning. There is certainly value in participating and taking certain courses, seminars, series. I would not necessarily leverage that as leadership. What I would leverage as leadership is if a part of this series, you led 10 people on a case study around job offer negotiations, and we had some competition and your team won that. So that's another way, if you don't necessarily have the job offer or the leading a team, you could have done that. Or maybe you are president of the Masters Student Government Association at the grade school. Those are other ways to demonstrate and show leadership. And then your bullets are around how many people, were you leading in the student body? How many people were you leading on the executive committee? What type of revenue and budget did you and the team manage? What results did you all have in making an impact? Maybe in student climate survey results, maybe in driving enrollment figures, maybe in increasing ranking, the program, what have you. Does that make sense?
It makes sense now. I wanted to ask a question, but
Please.
you already gave the answer right now.
Darn.
So I had like I said, I had like consulting experience back in Nigeria before I came. And it was difficult for me to be able to say this was the budget or revenue that I was able to achieve, because in a year I could have done like 16 different projects.
Well, correct. You could have done 16 different projects. So my thought would be focus on the 1 or 2 that you had the
Best results.
well, yeah, that works out well. But the ones that relate to the company, the industry, the position. So maybe you were on 17 projects, and 2 of them were oil and gas, and you want to work in the oil and gas industry. Well, I would focus on some of the results within those projects. Maybe you did a totally different project around aerospace, and that was where you actually drove the most profits or revenue growth. We could find a way to get that in there, but what would matter to this opportunity or this company would be what you've done in their industry. So it is a balance between making sure that you're showing how relevant you are and what you know about their space and your expertise, but also making sure you're listing your bullets and your accomplishments and making sure the results driven. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so this now leads to my second question.
Please.
Are you meant to edit your CV to be general? So for what I mean is, should you have one resume? When I say CV, sorry, resume.
Thank you.
I'm still a bit.
I understand it takes time.
It takes
It
time.
takes
I'll
time.
get used to it. Are you meant to edit your resume or have your resume be general? So in general terms, what I mean is, it's not speaking to any specific company. Or are you meant to edit it every time you want to send to a separate organization?
No and no. So
Okay.
let me explain. Here's the thought process. And this kind of goes back to how this series of modules are designed in our thought. Step one, career assessment. So whether we didn't know what we wanted to do or whether we thought we knew what we wanted to do, we went through career assessment, and that, for most of us, laid out what it was. So yes, you would want to have a general but specific resume to those or that one area. So let's say your top three were accounting, finance. Actually, what were your top three?
Accounting, finance,
I'm
accounting.
good. I tell you, I'm good.
No, he knows everybody. So accounting, finance, and higher education in non-governmental organizations, I think. So probably like a school or something.
Okay.
Those are the three. And the fourth one is training and organizational development.
Interesting. So of those three or four, which one do you relate to the most? Or do you feel that it's in your path?
My path is three. That's accounting,
Okay.
finance in the corporate setting, and training and organizational development.
So I would have, if you are dead set on accounting and you know that's what you want to do and that's your focus, I would have one resume specific to accounting.
Okay.
If you feel, accounting's my number one, but I kind of want to dabble a little bit into finance, you may want to have an accounting and a finance resume.
Okay.
I do not advocate getting into the third, the fourth, and the fifth. That's where we're spreading ourselves too thin. Now, second part of your question, once you have your accounting resume, you have your accounting resume. So I don't suggest that you tailor your accounting resume different when you're going to interview at PwC versus when you're going to interview at Alex Brown or when you're going to interview at E&Y. Your accounting resume is your accounting resume. Yet, if you have that finance resume, it's different from accounting. If you're going on your finance interview, you're bringing or you're posting with your finance resume. Now, within finance, as long as you're staying in the same in that lane of, let's say, financial reporting or investment banking or private equity or capital markets, whichever space we decide finance is where you're going, we're targeting those companies, but we have that finance resume. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So you do have a detailed and customized resume, but it's per industry function area, and you don't have to worry about editing and changing it for every single company that you go in and interview. And again, as we start talking about the last assignment and last exercise, what we did was we went and took those industries that we talked about, and we looked at our assessments and were introspective and determined, okay, these are the factors, or company criteria that I want to look for, and I'm pretty sure everyone that turned in that assignment has gotten back what their 10 to 15, in some cases 29 company target list have come back. So now we really wouldn't even have to get into customizing too much of anything because the focus is right there on those companies. Not limited to, but that's when we'll be spending time going through the session. Answer your question? So, we talked through leadership, communication. How would we convey communication in a resume?
Don't have typos in your resume.
Well, that is a clear way to communicate bad. And I would be lying if I said I have not seen students in the program, not necessarily anyone in this room or anyone on, send over resumes with obvious. I mean, the students had to know. And let's just say I would not expect that from anybody in here or on here. Because, and we talked about this before, competitive job market, they're getting hundreds of resumes for limited number of positions. They're going to be selective. You're making it really easy for them. So you're wasting your time. And how many times have you guys heard me say this already? You all are a part of something bigger than yourselves right now. Your resumes read Gray School of Business and Management, Morgan State University. And whether they'll admit it or not is human nature. We all like to put people in boxes.
Stereotype.
We all like to stereotype. So when they see your resume with misspelled words, what are they teaching over there at Morgan? I thought Mr. Fletcher was good. And this is real. So definitely typos, things of that nature, we want to work and stay away from. But what about the opposite? What about the things that we want to make sure we have in our resume as far as communication? And how can we communicate with a piece of paper? Because again, we haven't gotten the interview yet. They don't know what we look like. Maybe they do if they pop onto our LinkedIn, and our LinkedIn is on the resume, but they don't know much about us other than these few words that's on this, ideally one piece of paper, but we'll talk about that a little bit too. How do we communicate communication pieces? Any ideas? Okay, one of the things that communicates strong communication skills is success. If you've been promoted, that means somebody thought highly enough of you to say she deserves more responsibility. So these are people who have worked with you, know you in and out, at least professionally, and they think well enough of you to say, she can handle more, he can handle more. I'm shocked in the number of people who do not communicate or identify in their resumes that they have been promoted. There's several different ways to do it. Sometimes you can list each and every role and position. Sometimes you can list company, title, most recent title, excuse me, 3 or 4 bullets, and then you have a final bullet that would say promoted from the previous title and in parentheses, the timeline that you were in those positions. So you clearly articulate, hey, when I was there, I was doing the thing. You don't have to toot your own horn, but when they see that on your resume, that's the message that they get. Making sense?
Mhm.
Sure?
Question.
Please.
No, I'm still curious as to how success is a good identifier of excellent communication skills.
So the easiest way to explain that is, well, let me say this. There's a difference in the expectation of a resume from an undergrad and a master's student. And these bullets around leadership, communication, and innovation these things are expected to come across very clearly in a master's student's resume. It's great if an undergrad has it too, but it's expected from a master's level. And your question is warranted because again, it's a piece of paper. You're not able to speak during the, in an interview, you're not at that point yet. So how does a piece of paper communicate that you have strong communication skills? Again, if you couldn't communicate, I'm not giving you more responsibility in my organization. If I can't trust you, if you're not dependable, I'm not giving you more responsibility. So, by you articulating and showing in your resume that you received a promotion, or maybe 2 or 3, what in turn you're saying is, I'm dependable. I know how to get things done. I know how to communicate with people. People like working with me. So that's the positive box that you get put into when someone sees that you've been promoted. Answer your question?
Yeah.
Now, other ways you can demonstrate it, and some of these are similar. If you manage people, have you helped your people that you manage get promoted?
Sure.
Or if you're mentoring, you might be the MBA finance intern at Wells Fargo. But while you're there may be another Morgan student in an undergrad program. So you are mentoring him. And he has success of being intern of the year. Okay. So you mentored someone who's really successful and has received award and recognition. You must have something to do with that. Success means that you can communicate well. If you can communicate well, then you're going to find a way to make me comfortable in interacting with you and working with you. And we're going to figure out some kind of way to make sure this project gets done, or these results happen, this objective gets completed. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of these are leaps. And that's why we have interviews. Because based on some of the assumptions I may be making from your resume, now when you come in, it's, let me kick the tires a little bit. You guys familiar with the term kick the tires when you buy a car? Okay, if I'm kicking the tire, does that really mean that the car is gonna, I never really understood the expression, but it's testing the whole thing out. And we'll get a little more of that into interviews when we get to that prep portion. But what I'm trying to get you guys to do and understand the psychology behind all this, the thoughts behind all this, why we're doing this, why we're saying this. So, concise and relevant. This gets back to the point that we were talking about earlier with Do we have a customized resume for every position? No, you go crazy doing that. But again, we can have it for industry, make sure we have the right keywords, buzzwords. That's really what we're looking for. And we want it to be concise, because guess what? If I have 100 resumes that I need to look through, the ones that I'm going to remember are the ones that are going to stand out. How do you stand out? You the guy that got promoted. You were the woman that mentored the student that was intern of the year. You were intern of the year. Those are the things that are different. If you have something general, oh yeah, I earned my degree. Oh yeah, my GPA is, well, guess what? All of them are going to have something similar to that. How do you stand out and stand out in a positive way? And it's how you articulate your accomplishments. I guarantee you, if we had 30 to 45 minutes and I just talked with each of you one-on-one about the things that you all have done, I bet I can find something that's not on your resume that is a major accomplishment that you all would stand out by having on your resume. So as you guys are getting to know each other, and this is one of the reasons that I posted in Blackboard, hey, here's a template. Take some of the things that you might have, plug it into this template, but maybe classmate, friend, whoever, flip the resume over and say, give me some thoughts, give me some perspectives on this. I guarantee you'll get some good ideas back. And I would probably try it with classmates who are in the class, because you guys are sort of on the same page, hearing the same things, but you're probably looking at them very different ways. But again, you want to be concise but relevant, because nobody wants to flip through a 6-page CV. And if you have 5 years or under of experience, you don't need the second page on the resume. You want it to be concise, you want it to be relevant to the things that they're looking for. Demonstrate that you know what they want, demonstrate that you know yourself, plug those two things together, shoot it over. Automated tracking systems, we've got a couple slides on that, so I won't get into too much detail there. We will be talking a little bit about cover letters, which are essential and important. When you don't send the cover letter over, are they really serious? Do they really want the job? So having a cover letter format that you just kind of cut and paste and plug in is probably smart. Shouldn't take a whole lot of time. We're only talking about 4 or 5 sentences, really. But it makes a big difference in demonstrating to them how much you care. And remember, it's about them, not about you.
Yep.
And then also follow-up. So as we talk about networking, if you have a friend, a fellow alum, whoever, who has plugged you in, who has introduced you, keep people who have helped you updated on the process. Maybe they won't say anything to you, but if you drop them a quick email and say, hey, had a great discussion with Lisa the other day, thanks so much for making that happen. We're gonna talk again in another few weeks. Well, that person that's connected to Lisa might, hey Lisa, so what'd you think about your time with so and so and so and so? Oh, great, wonderful, lovely. And it's keeping you front of mind with Lisa. And it's adding and helping you build that rapport with Lisa when you're nowhere around. All you did was flip an email and update. Does that make sense? We understand the psychology behind this now? All right, so by show of hands, how many people have a CV and not a resume? Oh, yeah, there was gonna be somebody. The next 2 slides are for everybody, but really for you.
So quick question.
Please.
in clear terms, like I know the CV is almost like your whole background, from where you started to your date.
Yep.
Like a resume is more concise.
These next two slides, because I think what you're going to ask me is, what's the real difference? You know, you get the conceptual size difference. Okay, yeah, you know, 1 or 2 pages versus 6 to 8 pages,
Exactly.
but really, what's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
So here it is. Turning your CV into a resume. Resume focuses on practical skills and qualifications. Practical skills and qualifications you bring to a particular position. So it's what you pointed out. I could care less that you'd spent 6 months in a rotation program doing human resources if you're applying for a finance role. And frankly, at this juncture, I'm not even trying to dig into what were you doing for 6 months, or what were you doing for a year? What's going on with this gap? Now, I may ask you about that in the interview or as I get to know you, but that's not important to me right now. Right now, I am clearly simply trying to figure out, I need someone that knows how to make widgets and someone that can make widgets quick and at a high level. I'm flipping through your resume to figure out, have you made widgets? And how well have you done in making widgets? And have you taught other people how to make widgets? And maybe, can you bring something to my organization that can help me make better widgets or widgets faster or cheaper? That's it. Totally different concept from a CV, because the mindset when you're reviewing the CV is, I want to see everything, I want to know everything, I want to get a balance for how this person can bring all these different things into my organization and the skill set. This is very different. This is actually the opposite. It's, I want to make sure this person can do this. I could care less what those other skills are. I just need you to do this. Does that clarify a little bit?
Yeah.
And we'll talk more. So the detailed academic information on a CV, publications, memberships, grants. Now this, again, would be different if you're applying for something around in academia. All of these things would be very important, because in academia, even if you're in the US, they'll say your CV. So, but, and I'll be honest, if any of you are interested in looking at roles in the government, it'll be a lot more like, it's still called a resume, but it'll be a lot more like your CV. But if you're thinking corporate, resume. If you wrote a publication, talk to me about it in the interview, or let's talk about it around the water cooler or having coffee down the road. Good for you. I'm glad you did it. I'm interested. But at this point, I need to know you can make widgets. Follow me?
Yeah.
Focus on, again, work experience and specific skills. That's why it's so important. It was the first bullet I had on the other slide once we got through housekeeping stuff. It was know the industry, know the company. Know what they want. If you know what they want, then you know what to bring out of your background to let them know you have it and you're the best person for the role. Very important skill. And then organize the sections of your CV to create a good resume. So in your case, if only thing you have is a CV, by Wednesday when the resume is due and supposed to be uploaded, you don't have to start from scratch. There's a lot of valuable information in your CV that you'll be pulling out, but you're probably cutting, how long is your CV? 3 pages? 2 pages? Okay. But we're getting, it'll be a 1-page resume when we're done.
Sorry, a question.
Go for it.
CV, how many pages can a CV has? Resume, as you said, will have just 1 page. Like the government kind of resume you talked about now, are there specifications or a little bit of dynamism we could put into that, because it's for the government now? Could it go into 2 pages?
So here's how I'm going to tackle that. I'm going to generally say it's going to depend around background and how much you've actually done.
Okay.
If you've done a lot, it's gonna be larger. In typical agency roles, it's different. I don't know of anyone who in government agencies has looked at a resume and I'm not even reading it because it's too long. I know a lot of people who have done it on the corporate side. So your question's valid, but I wouldn't be overly concerned about length if you're applying to agencies. If you are applying to agencies, let's try to schedule some time to chat, and I'll at least try to provide some resources around specific government resume writing tips and things like that. Based on what I've seen in the group's assessments, there wasn't a lot of this, but again, you guys may hear of something, know of something. We were down in the state capitol the other day. If that's something you guys want to pursue, we can be a resource for it.
Thank you.
Anytime. With regards to CV and resume, here are some actual legal things that you definitely don't want to have on your resume. Age. I mean, there are people who don't even, after a while, I wouldn't suggest this with you guys, but after a while, people don't even put the year that they finished college because they don't want people to begin to project their ages out. When we're talking, I mean, most of the time from names, you'll be able to generally get, the section area, but sexual orientation. I've seen some CVs that have listed it, and I'm really, what?
That's African. What? No.
Marital status is common on CVs. You do not want to apply.
I have seen a lot of them.
I've seen age, but I've not seen sexual orientation.
I've seen marital status.
I've seen it regularly. You do not want to apply for a corporate position in the U.S. listing marital status.
It's not even your visa status.
You say you should not.
Again,
Not.
and underline not.
Sorry. I've seen some CVs, especially in Africa, that has all that except sexual orientation. Every other thing there is on their CV. In fact, they put the local government.
Your local government, simple Baltimore County, because it counts. It actually counts. There are some. They call it quota system.
Okay.
They have to give
More
people
quota to the
but
indigens.
to the indigens of the.
Yeah, that's
Especially from that
oil,
area.
Like the oil and gas.
Yeah. Oh,
So again,
So stop
here's how I'm gonna tackle this. And I'm sure you all heard me when we talked about CVs and resumes a few weeks ago. If you all are telling me I'm applying for roles back at home, okay.
that's fine. Sexual orientation.
And you come to me and you say, hey, Mr. Fletcher, I'm applying for a role back at home. Can you take a look at my CV? I'm not gonna rip your head off. I'll look through and give you guys some feedback on that. What most, okay, yeah, I can say that. What most of you all, in responding back to company criteria, some of you had some international things on there, but a lot of it, especially if there was international, everybody had either some U.S. city or North America in general or something on there. So these sessions are geared towards helping you guys understand and do that. Now, again, you may say, Mr. Fletcher, I'm interested in DC, New York, LA, Lagos, and Joburg. Okay. I mean, that's fine. We'll help you work through all of that, but just make sure you understand the difference in what document to use where and what document is information supposed to have. Because if you're applying for a position back at home and there is the quota system and that works to your benefit, have it on there and leverage it.
Yeah.
But this is what not to include in your CV or resume with regards to here. We clear?
Yeah.
Got it.
Show visa status.
So I just want-
And second point, visa status.
Oh my God.
really,
Oh, I've seen it,
are you? But I don't think all of us are who are sexual orientation.
But you can get called for interview right now, and you get there because of your visa status will bounce you.
Yeah,
Get there first.
Oh, no, repeat that?
Because
he's saying that you could get.
you could get invited for an interview, basically now
Yes,
with your current resume,
okay.
and when you get there, they tell you because of your visa status, you can't go further.
So we're gonna talk a little more about that. And I agree that, this is my personal opinion, that more of the employers need to be upfront and let applicants know.
Yeah, to do that online.
They do it online.
Exactly.
They do it to everybody.
Yet, it gets really confusing right now because I can't look at a resume and make an assumption about your name and assume that you're an international or what have you. And again, in resumes, we're not listing statuses. So what we'll be talking through, especially in the interview stage and things like that, is how to kind of feel this thing out and how to not waste your time or their time. But you don't want it to be a blunt, oh, we'd like to bring you in for interview. Well, hey, my status is blank, and so there's a way to have that conversation. There's a way to kind of go through the due diligence and get that information out before you're spending time prepping for an interview and going down there and then disappointed.
I also think, like, to contribute, you could do a background on the company.
Absolutely.
So you could do a search. So for example, I and Tony have a good background in accounting and finance. I know, for example, that EY, PwC, Deloitte, and BDO, they're strong in Nigeria.
Okay.
They're strong all over Africa, actually.
Yeah, globally, yeah.
They don't have, they have a way in which they could recruit you here, second you somewhere else. They do that. Even in Nigeria, you could get a job in Nigeria and be in the US.
Ah,
Yeah, they do that a lot. So I know, for example, that those companies, it doesn't really matter where you're coming from because of the accounting standard that is general.
absolutely. And you're right. There are a lot of companies that may also have one standard and regulation for their IT division in practice, but something different for finance or accounting. So that's another scenario. If you are an international student, having some type of IT background, inside exposure helps tremendously. I've talked with some students who have had accounting backgrounds and said, look, while you're here, take some information systems classes, and if you've got that accounting background and then now you understand IT, your way in might be helping to develop accounting software and systems, and then you leverage from that into hardcore accounting, which is possible. But you're right, and we're here to help navigate through that, and that's why we, again, are working down to a special list of 7, 10, 15, 29 companies. So as these early conversations and research happens, we'll be talking about how do we have information interview questions and talking to people that are in these networks. And those are one of the things that you talk about. Well, hey, I'm an international student, and how does that work? Is it, and maybe they don't know, but maybe they can connect you with someone who does. And maybe, so that's how you get these insights. So it shouldn't be one of those, oh, we saw your resume on Indeed and come in for an interview, and here's the thing. Your experience going through the selection process is your experience when you're in that organization, whether it's a summer or whether it's for a career. So there's the phrase of, I'll say it this way. If they're haphazard and kind of wasting your time going through the interview process, more than likely it's not going to be the best experience while you're there. Now, again, I'm not saying that that's 100%, but those are some things that you guys should be thinking through going through it. Now, again, if you've got 2 or 3 different offers, you can be a little bit verbose about these types of things. Well, you know what, I didn't really like the way that happened, and I'm going, but until you get to those 3 offers, you kind of have to play things a little bit different. So, I mean, is that clear? But again, you want to have options and choices. You want to be in a position where you can be this choicy and say, well, I didn't like the fact that this and that happened, and they could have handled this better. I could have gotten more information in a different, better time frame, and I'm making different choices. Does that make sense? So again, I know we're actually a little over, but let's kind of get into some of the meat of this. Your header is obviously the first thing there. One thing I want to make sure everybody's doing, LinkedIn profiles. Who does not have a LinkedIn profile? You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody's got a LinkedIn?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Does everybody have a customized link to their LinkedIn? Who doesn't? Okay. When we do the LinkedIn session, I have a slide or 2 on it, simple and easy. But I'll tell you why that's important. And this actually relates back to communication. If, again, not saying this is right, wrong, or indifferent, but this is the way people do things and where people put folks in boxes, right? Well, if you're so savvy that you have a LinkedIn customized URL, you communicate well. You must know something about computers. You're hip. You're cool. At a minimum, you're at least innovative and open to the new, and all you did was hit a couple buttons, but what it communicates is all that. I remember hearing people talk about, when I say people, I mean recruiters, this person has a Hotmail. This person has an AOL email. They must be old. Wait a minute. We're talking about just, maybe I had it for a while. Maybe I was an early adopter. But I would say, and it's a little different with you guys because you guys have the your Morgan accounts or what have you, but if you're serious and you're in the job market and you have an AOL, just set up a Gmail. Just do it. Why run the risk? Why be a rebel? Just something to think about. So, second, have a professional email address. I have not seen, yeah, it's true. With this admissions class, I didn't see any strange, weird, super muscle man at gmail.com type stuff. Anyway, I won't even get creative and go further. You guys know what I mean.
There we go.
Now, the normal scenario, I don't even feel I have to say this to master students, but we're going to just check the box. Those type of email addresses don't belong on resumes. Let Mr. Fletcher find out that a student in the grade school of business at the master's level submitted a resume with, I'm the man from the we just won't go there. We just will not go there. You can do first name dot last name, first name underscore last name underscore first name. Let's keep it simple. There's also nothing wrong if you want to use your Morgan address. Here's the other nuance with where technology is going these days and everybody's connected and disconnected and blah, blah, blah. Please check your emails. Please check in spam. I have heard of students, darn, they sent me an email, they wanted to interview me last week, I just saw it this week, it went in spam.
I didn't check my spam. I didn't check spam. No, it's still check spam.
There's some.
If you're using your cell phones, make sure you're checking your voicemails. I am a serial screener. I will program people's number into my phone. That means I'll answer. If I see numbers, now I'll check my voicemail and I'll figure out on the back end. But if for whatever reason, I don't check my voicemail, things might get missed. For those of you all who are looking for opportunities, things can't get missed. I know things get hectic. This is due, that's due, Professor so-and-so, Mr. Fletcher, this and that, all these things going on, project-based learning, working, all of this. You guys have to make sure you're staying on top of these things.
I'm sorry, a quick one. Sorry to take you back. The LinkedIn link that you should have there now, it's a long one, it's a lengthy one. Let me show you mine, for example.
Okay, okay.
When I did mine, it extended beyond that line. So I did that to put it like this. I don't know whether this is the LinkedIn link. Yeah.
So here's the thing, and we'll get into this, we'll fix it when we do the LinkedIn, but that's not a customized URL.
Okay.
That's the normal given URL that you have. So there's a way to go in and literally change everything after the linkedin.com/IN, that would stay, but then you could change everything after that. You might use first initial, last name. You might use first name, last initial.
Let me see it.
Whatever it, and as long as it hasn't been used by somebody else, it's yours and you got it. So I think mine is IN /, I believe I used first initial, middle initial, and last name.
Oh.
But mine fits in similar to that, and it doesn't come all the way over and across.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. And if it is a soft copy, for example, if the HR manager clicks that soft copy, it will take them to my LinkedIn account, just like this.
If you hyperlink it, then it will.
Because this will take you there.
Here is my advice on the hyperlink. Don't. Or if you do hyperlink it, make sure you change the color back to black.
Okay.
Because you don't want to turn in a resume, everything else is black, and then you have this blue line. That's where the formatting and everything comes into play.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, whoops, let's jump into, so career focus and key strengths. The meat and potatoes of the resume is around, the education piece and the professional experience, and we'll get into that in a second. But these areas of career focus and key strengths are becoming a vital part of the resume. Because we talked earlier about kind of buzzwords, keywords, industry research. Well, this is where you plug all of those things in. Now, granted, you can plug those things in other places, in your professional experience or what have you, but the best place is here. If we're talking about career focus, and notice I didn't call it an objective, I talked about career focus, because I want to know who you are and kind of what you've done and where you want to go. So I want to understand, you're in first year of the program, you're in second year of the program. I want to understand if you've got a background professionally in accounting, or if you just studied accounting. I want to understand what, if anything, are you studying or overlaying some of that background with while you're in the program? Are you concentrating on something? Are you in hospitality? Are you in accounting versus MBA? I want to get a flavor for where you were, where you are, and then I want to understand where you're trying to go. This doesn't need to be a long biography. This isn't like the 3-hour, Gandhi movie or, Malcolm X type thing. I need 2 to 3 sentences, if that. Very quick. You want to use some of the buzzwords: high energy, experience, passion for, leverage, background in, interested in, motivated by, responsibility within. You guys fill in those X blanks. And trust me, you guys don't have to use these exact words. As a matter of fact, I think you should use similar words. I think that you can look some of those words up on a thesaurus and interchange them, because if everybody in the class uses the same words and you guys start applying somewhere, guess what? So this is a guide, okay? Am I clear on that? Perfect. So, key strengths and expertise is the next area, and again, I'm kind of pumped about this one because it's impactful and easy, and there's not too many impactful, easy things in life. So again, if you want to be, actually, the accounting thing is way too popular. Who's not interested in being an accountant? What do you want to do?
I'm an IT analyst. I want to stick more with my programming, servers, database. I'll be happy.
Cloud, you always
Cloud
talk about
computing.
cloud. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my major.
We need to go beyond the cloud now. Can we get into the galaxy or something? I mean, take us somewhere else. I mean, the cloud's overused, man. Think big, think big.
But that's what everybody's using right now. It's the big thing in the IT industry right now.
So let's use IT. This is good.
I want us to use something else.
What skills, and let's just say 5. Name 5 essential skills in IT.
IT security.
So IT security would be considered a skill.
Yes, it's a
Okay.
skill.
Okay. Good gracious, is this supposed to be a IT security?
On networking.
Networking, okay. And this is not networking as in shaking hands and getting to meet people, right?
Cables, RJ45.
This system talks to this system,
Yes.
and it all, okay, I got it.
WAN, wide area network and all that.
So yeah, capital WAN, right?
Yes.
Would that be considered a skill?
Not the word, just one end.
Wouldn't it? Okay.
Yeah, that comes under networking. Networking is the big language for all of them. So,
All right. So can we think of 2 more skills?
okay.
Troubleshooting.
Troubleshooting and installation. Troubleshooting, installation and troubleshooting. You have a
Okay,
fresh
hold on.
computer.
I'm gonna push back on troubleshooting for a second. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But I am the university. I'm the MBA. Well, you're in project management, so I'm saying I'm a master's recruiter, graduate student recruiter for Amazon.
My company.
That's my company.
That's one of my companies.
That's my company strike.
Again, Mr. Fletcher knows things. I chose that one for a reason. So, I've got 30 seats, and I'm bringing in all over the globe grad students. 30 seats, I probably have, how many applications do you think I have to flip through? Just guess.
Hundreds, I guess.
What? Thousands.
Thousands, man.
Okay? Now, I'm not looking at all of them.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the reason that I make you go in online and submit and upload is because I have software that reads the resume for me. I have told this software I am most interested in resumes that have
IT security,
these types of words in them.
IT support.
Back to your point about troubleshooting. Troubleshooting might be on my list. But troubleshooting is also going to be on the other thousands of applications that have come in, right? So you should have troubleshooting on yours. But as we're thinking about these key skills and these, because you're going to have troubleshooting, that word is going to be on your resume probably at least 2 or 3 other times, right? Down in.
Yes.
This area is where you really want to bulk up, that you know the new trends, the new technologies. Is it hello, like the new hottest language and things that
AWS, which is the cloud computing, Microsoft Azure, Cisco, and all that.
Right, and you could have just been talking to me in Swahili, but it's your space. You need to know it. My job is trying to help you understand. Use these bullets as valuable real estate to not only demonstrate what you know, but that you're on the new, current, trendy, hot stuff. Because, again, thousands of resumes are coming in. 30 slots, thousands of resumes are coming in. The computer's going to go from 3,000 down to probably 75. I'm going to flip through 75. When I'm flipping through 75, I'm probably going to spend maybe 30 seconds doing my first yes, no, maybe. And if you've got troubleshooting under key strengths and expertise, I'm thinking, but doesn't every IT person? So use that space up there for the cool stuff, for the new, trendy. So again, even if we go back to accounting, accountants don't change stuff that much. Like once they get it, they're like, this is how it is, dude. But if there's new types of filings, there's all this talk now in the US about changing the tax code, Dodd-Frank. Well, guess what? Now, maybe you guys haven't had the opportunity to do certain filings in the US. But while you're here in this program, you should be trying to figure out how to get experiences to do that. And why? Because when you do it, you can then put on your resume, truthfully, I've got experience in filing form XY21Z, post Dodd-Frank, pre-Dodd-Frank, whatever. Those are the things that when people are reading, it's, man, you were the Morgan student that had experience in Dodd-Frank. You were the Morgan student that knew how to do the whatever it was that you were saying before. You following me?
Yes.
So when I went through that long soliloquy because I want you all to understand using these keywords, not only do they have to be relevant, but they should be current and trendy. This is back to the do you have an AOL or a Hotmail? When you told me in putting troubleshooting up there, AOL.
We have about 9, so I'm just...
No, and again, like I said, nothing wrong. It's a learning experience for everybody. And I could have taken it and linked it to anything that other folks want to do. I could have linked it to sales and marketing in my background. But the key that I want everybody to learn and understand from that is what you're putting up there, that's the area where you can demonstrate, I know my industry because I know what's new. I know what's hot. I know the skills that are necessary to be cutting edge.
Okay. A question, like networking is broad, and there are various organizations that do networking.
Okay.
Cisco is the major company that knows how to do networking perfectly, and virtually all big organizations use Cisco. So in most cases, I could put Cisco networking.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
The operating system could be Linux, Microsoft, and all that. So,
Dead on. Absolutely dead on. So take for example, and again, I'll use sales. A lot of times in sales, people want to make sure you've used CRM systems, client relationship management systems, because you have to enter data around your calls and be able to manage and break down all of those relationships. So if you use Salesforce.com, then that needs to be out there. So those are the things I want you guys to really be thinking about. So we talked about highlighting degree, professional and academic background. We talked about the industry buzzwords, placing within key strengths. Again, listing the relevant skills which are needed for the position. We'll talk a little bit more about this in the future, but I want to make this point now. As you guys are working on your resumes, I do realize that you may not know, especially if you're kind of switching careers. Maybe your background is IT and you want to go into accounting, so you don't know as much. What I strongly suggest all of you do, go onto your LinkedIn profiles and go to the area where your top 1, 2, maybe even 3 career choices are. Just do a search for people, any people that have that job title or in that area. Look at their profiles, specifically look in their skills section. LinkedIn will list the skills that they have. Look at about 5 of them, maybe 10. Make a list of the common skills that are on those profiles, and that's how you will build these lists. So if you don't know it off the top of your head, or if you want to double check yourself and make sure you know the latest and hottest software trends or skills, be current. If you know you want to work for Amazon and you know you want to work in accounting, then you can go to the in-depth scenarios of, I want to know the person who's doing accounting at Amazon and look at their profile. And now you're even further ahead of the curve. So you're laser focused in building your resume. You're laser focused in building those skills if you don't have them right now. So guess what? It might not be this semester that you're getting that job, but you're doing the things now to build the resume. So there'll be the time where it all comes together. Making sense? And we talked through key areas to impact ATS. Let's see what else. Professional experiences. I think that this is a part, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys are pretty familiar with. And it's, yes, we've got to cut back some of the verbiage that might be in some of your CVs, but I don't think that this is that foreign of a concept for most of you. The things that I want to make sure are very clear, and I did speak about this earlier, but I'll reiterate it. Lead with your best bullet. Lead with your most important impact. Again, back to that grad recruiter at Amazon and the 75 resumes that he's going to look through or she's going to look through. We're talking, I did executive search. I looked through these piles of resumes before, and you know what? Boop, 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 done. Boop, 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 done. Boop, 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 done. And it was yes, no, maybe. Yes, no, maybe. So if your best bullet, when you made this big cost savings, is the 4th bullet down, I may not even get to it. I may see where you worked, I may see your title, I may see how long you were there, and your first bullet, help build presentation with manager. But whatever. This person doesn't get it. I'm moving on. So make sure as you're working on these bullets, and cut and paste, put the things that you're most proud of on top. Here, it's much easier to set a very positive initial impression and get people to, man, Tony's on it. That gives Tony some leeway to make a mistake or two, and we're still good. But if my first impression of you is, I don't know, and you make a mistake, and guess what? We all make them. It's almost like a credit score. You want to start way up here. So if you make a mistake or two, you're still good. But if you start here and you make a mistake or two, we got a problem. Lead with the right stuff. Also, can someone explain to me, for the sake of time, I'll go ahead and explain it. Every bullet should start with action words, action verbs. I've just listed 3 of them here. Create, manage, design.
In past tense.
Past tense.
Past tense, except unless it's current, unless you're in a current rolled out. Very good. Excellent. If you all, what I would suggest, and I probably should have done a cut and paste and added this here. If you want to, you can do a simple Google search around resume action verbs, and there will be plenty beyond these 3 if you need to spread out and get more than those 3. But make sure you have those leading out. The other thing, you guys have heard me talk about this. Every position experience, there should at least be 1, if not 2 bullets. It's quantifiable. Why is it quantifiable? Because if you say, I manage the team, okay, you manage the team. Could have managed a team with 2. You could have managed a team with 2,000. Pretty big difference. If you tell me you provided cost savings of 2% versus cost savings of 20%, big difference. It helps the reader understand how big of an impact you made when it's quantifiable. If you worked on the team and based on the project, the main project you guys worked on, you all went from the number 5 to the number 2 revenue driving entity in the company. Now I understand why that's a proud accomplishment, because it had impact. Now again, some of you all may be thinking back a few years on some of these things. If you kept old emails or old performance reviews and you got to get the numbers and stuff straight, do that. If you don't know them exactly, it's okay. We err on the side to be very conservative, so we can put head to pillow at night, and if anybody calls us out on these numbers, we can do high level and back into it and justify it, but we need the numbers. The numbers should be accurate and justifiable. Nothing made up. Got me?
Yeah.
One other thing that I will point out, if you look under the companies, I have ABC company, city, state, and then company description, industry revenues, number of employees, geographic scope. Those things are very important, especially for international students, because a lot of you all probably have been working for major and large organizations that we may not be familiar with here in the US. But if I see how big the organization is, I get it. Or if that organization was a major subsidiary of some international conglomerate that's a household name, put it on there. Because guess what? When Amazon is doing their tracking system, they probably have eBay, Facebook, Twitter, and some of those other competitors on that pool. So if you work for some subsidiaries of them or work on projects with subsidiaries of theirs, it helps, and that should be on your resume because that helps, that adds to your credibility of knowing the industry. We're good? Make sense? Is this helpful?
Yeah.
Okay. You're not just telling me that to make me feel good, are you? Let's see. Almost done here. All right. Education and other. In this specific example, I kind of broke out, well, actually, I'll make this point about the last slide. I broke out professional experience and I had extracurricular. Right now, where you guys are, extracurricular probably does make the most sense, especially if you guys go and get involved in, you know, the National Black MBA or the Finance Club or Student Government Association or anything like that. As you go into your career, hopefully you all will be community servants and sit on boards or volunteer time. You can kind of change that to volunteer experience. And if you guys have some of those experiences already, you can change it to volunteer experience now and add it in. I just wanted to make that nuance. But as we get into education, scenario, pretty simple, quick, and straightforward. If you have a 3.0, list the GPA. If your GPA is below 3.0, don't list the GPA. It's real simple. If you have received honors and been recognized, create a quick few bullets there, make it happen. Make sure everything's in chronological, order, and I probably should have made that nuance and point back with the professional experiences as well. Most recent, up top, and it goes down. Same thing with education. So it would be the program that you're in right now, and then your previous degrees. And if you do list GPA and it was a 5-point scale versus 4, be upfront about that and make sure it's listed. Any questions there? Perfect. Applicant tracking system, we kind of talked through it. So we'll jump to these really fast. With regards to applicant tracking system, do use job title on the resume. So again, if the job title is IT manager and you were an IT manager, it's already going to be there on your resume. If you were an IT manager, then you would figure out how to get IT and manager somewhere on your resume. Key skills in the area is a great place to find the ways to get that. Do include phone, email, that's kind of obvious. List dates to the right of information. At a minimum, do month and year. Oh, excuse me, at a minimum, do year. Ideally, month and year for when you were enrolled. That's important. Don't consider, do consider, so sections and capitalizations, things like that, the system reads those differently. So be very careful how you are listing those. We talked about this. Do check email after applying online. They will, in many cases, be in touch with you. Do be mindful of special characters and accents. I saw a resume from an applicant. My goodness, it was like the rainbows where it was blue and it was red and stuff was going on all over the place. And I'm thinking, good Lord, we need to get this person in professional development tomorrow. But strong background. But the thing is, when you're going through those ATS systems, if you have colors, fonts, I mean, I've seen people submit resumes with pictures and no. No. I don't need all of that. They don't need all of that. This is not the time to be that guy or gal. Boy, got it? And frankly, what it does is it messes the system up. So even if you have a great background, it prevents you from making that 75. You kind of get caught in the 3,000 because the system says, I'm not really sure what to do with this one. No. So keep it simple. The don'ts. Don't list your credentials, MBA, PMP, CPA, next to your name, included in separate line like in our key skills area. Make sense?
Yeah.
Because if the system's reading, I'm Nick Fletcher, not Nick Fletcher SPHR, or Nick Fletcher PMP, or Nick Fletcher MBA. Got it? Because again, some of these systems will read the names and then pull you in automatically to certain systems, and having those credential things behind throws the system off. Make sense? Don't include skills you don't possess on the resume. I want to be very, very clear about this, and I'm not attempting to be stereotypical. This may come across that way. I do recognize some cultures are much more lenient when it comes to resumes and what's
Overstating the obvious.
yes. Please do not do this. Don't be tempted to do this. I am willing to help in as many ways as I can. Use me as a gut check system, use each other as a gut check system. Err on the side of extreme caution here.
Because they're going to ask you at the interview.
Exactly.
Even if when they now tell you to do it, you can't do it.
Now, again, I don't think anybody in this room would go this far, but I have heard stories such as this. Someone puts that they are fluent in French.
Oh my God.
Now, hold on. There's a difference in can read and discuss, and here's the terminology. Proficient reading and writing French is one thing. Fluent in French is another. Fluent in French, you walk in, interviewer looks at the resume. Oh, I studied for 2 years in France. Let's conduct the rest of the interview in French. That's a problem. Or especially those of you all who are going into quant roles. You start listing, oh yeah, I know weighted average cost of capital. I'm a finance jock. Oh, okay. Here's a quick business case. Let me throw some numbers out. Here's a pen and paper. Can you walk me through the terminal value and the weighted average cost of capital?
What?
Something you do.
But
No,
in accounting and finance, right? We have systems right now, so nobody's gonna tell you to use pen and paper to calculate weighted average cost of capital.
Be careful in making that assumption. Now, I agree with you that if you get the offer and when you show up in the office, they'll teach you, oh yeah, you put this number in there and the software does it. But as you're going through the vetting process, what did I say earlier? They like you from the resume. They're gonna interview you. They're checking you out. They're kicking the tires. They're trying to make sure that you are what they think you are. And again, you're telling them, I'm coming through from the Grave School of Management. I'm a finance jock. I got it. And they say, it can happen, and they're well within their right to do it. It is. So that's actually a really good gut check. If you put it on your resume, expect to do it. I mean, I remember at times I flipped through, okay, got it. And I remember once or twice, especially as I was going through case study interviews, because I did consulting for a while. Hold on, let me remind myself of that equation one more time, like, because it might come up. So you have to be that prepared. And we'll talk more about interview stuff. And I mean, this is more about the resume, but do yourselves a favor. And let's see, talking about the different fonts, because again, that takes you out of the process and hurts. Don't submit multiple resumes to the same company. So we talked a little bit earlier about maybe I want to do finance, maybe I want to do accounting. I want to work for Amazon. They have 2 roles. If that comes up, let's talk. I'm not saying that you wouldn't apply for both, but you want to understand as much as you can, or we want to understand as much as we can about the company and their systems. Because here's what happens. Are you this person or are you this person? Because their systems look at everybody as one and the same. And if they start seeing differences and discrepancies between the two, what's real, what's not, it's certainly not you all doing anything wrong. And I don't think it's them doing anything wrong. It's some companies just haven't thought through these nuances, and candidates get caught in the shuffle around it. So again, the best scenario would be you apply to the Amazon accounting role, and you go to the information session and you talk with the HR person and say, oh, I understand you have a finance role too. I'm actually interested in both.
Okay.
Or maybe the step in this case might be, we look at, and I hate to say this, we might look at a customized resume that would include both some finance and accounting if that were the scenario. But I feel comfortable that this would not be the common scenario. We'll probably interview maybe 1 or 2 at the most. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Questions?
Okay, I get that part where you said you should reach out to the HR. But in a case where you have like an IT department, they have some specialize in IT support, some specialize in cloud computing, some specialize in networking, and you can do the three of them. And in a case where there's an opportunity that opens in the three departments, it's basically the major IT department that has all these sub departments that are also related to.
So I apologize for cutting you off, excuse me. Your background will be IT. You'll have an IT resume that would include networking, cloud computing, and what was it, the third? That there was
support.
And IT support. So you wouldn't have to worry about that scenario, because your background, as long as you have experience in all three of those, it's going to be on there. There are differences in what you're talking about too, but the industry looks at accounting and finance in many cases very different, and different buzzwords, different things that they're going to do. And if a student wants and is capable of doing both, there's a chance that a company could look at the resumes of the same person and then they be different, and then it's, well, why didn't you put that in this? And is there something funny or unethical going on? And one thing about this process is people aren't going to sit there and try to figure it out for you. That's why we have to be concise, simple, and know what we want. We got to lead the horse to water and convince the horse to drink. But if all of a sudden you got the accounting stuff over there, the IT stuff over there, the finance things over there, you got that horse wandering all over the place, can't get it to water. So that's where those two resumes could cause an issue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What we're talking about here, just things to think about. Mindset, think like an employer. Remember, not about you. When you're walking in and you're preparing for an interview, stop and say, what if I was on the other side of the table? What if this was my company and I was bringing somebody in? What would I want to see? Or when I interviewed before, refresh yourself with what you were looking at. And that'll best prepare you. What do you bring to the company? What do you bring to the position? How are you unique and how are you different from the 3,000 people who started applying, the 75 that got into the interview process, and the 30 that are going to get the job? How are you different? How do you stand out in a positive way? Keyword searches. So we'll kind of get a little bit into more of this later, but if there is that role that you really, really want, I'll use Amazon again. Going and taking the Amazon job description for whatever program, copying the entire thing and putting it into one of these two websites, it will literally lay out for you the major words that are in the job description. Does everybody see where that information is valuable? Mm-hmm. Major words in the job description, where else should they be? Here we go. Cliff notes. So again, connecting the dots, trying to make life easy. Resumes, do's and don'ts. We talked through most of these. Yeah, we talked about the borders, lines, shading. You want to stay away from that. Fonts should be Times New Roman. We should stay 10 to 12. Certainly don't go under 10. I think 10 is a little too small personally. But we want to fit to one page.
Sorry, the fonts, is it compulsory that it must be under either of these two?
So
sorry, I'm just trying to say, in cases where you have chunklets of experiences, yeah, if you use Times or that other one,
yep,
your resume might drop into 2 pages, especially if you have to use 10 or 12.
So the reason that they are suggesting that you use the type of font is because some of the fonts, it's harder for ATS systems to pick up. I'm surprised that Arial's not on there. It's usually Arial and Times are the ones. So if you have, again, a crazy type font that you might like, don't use that for the resume that you are posting with to these sites. Now, I'm glad you asked that question because it's a very important point here. There's no reason why the resume should, in you all's cases, go to 2 pages. But let's just say it does. You better fill 2 pages. There's no such thing as a 1.5-page resume. If you start that next page with 1 line, you're going to have enough information, relevant, concise information, to fill up that next page. Is that clear?
Yeah.
This is my own.
What happens with a 1.5-page resume? What pile does that go into?
Trash.
All right, just so we're clear. Now, there's another important point. Oops. I'm not sure where it was, but I want to make it because I just thought about it. Question, class. Is it appropriate to ever put a staple in your resume if it goes to the 2nd page?
Stable as in.
Like,
It stapler.
No,
So there's 2 pages to your resume. Let's just move forward. Let's say all of you all are coming back to your 10-year reunion. And for some reason, some companies that are around and opportunities and stuff, so you guys brought a couple resumes with you. You guys talking to a couple folks. 2-page resumes, you have them. It's okay then, right? You guys have built these wonderful, great experiences. Do you put a staple in it?
no.
Does anybody say yes?
I do.
I don't put no staple.
And actually, I personally think it depends on who's going to be looking at your resume. Because at the end of the day, some people have preference. I understand that you should have an ideal, but if you come to know who's going to be looking at it and that person has that preference, and I say this out of experience.
Interesting.
Because, yeah, I was at this career fair when fortunately I had a 2-page resume.
Okay.
I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know what was on there, but it was a 2-page resume and I had it front and back, and I thought I was, that's the way to go. And I handed it to someone and he was like, I don't even know which is the first page and which is the last. Next time, have it 2 pages and staple it. And he made me feel like I was some kid, and then I moved on to another person and the person, praised me for having it front and back, for being innovative. So to me, that shows that at the end of the day, it's, if you come to know what the policy is, then go with that.
Please hold your thought because I want to hear everything that you have to say. but I need to dig into that because there's 2 very important things that Sinead brought up. First is this. There is absolutely no cookie cutter, right or wrong gospel in what we're talking about. You guys could 3 months from now be in an interview or submit a resume and some recruiter say, why did you do it? And in your mind, you're like, darn, Mr. Fletcher told me to do it. Different people are going to have different views and perspectives on things. I wouldn't go as far as to say that there's policies. I think they're personal preferences, right? What I have brought into developing these lessons have been relevant news articles, have been my time in executive search, have been my background and experiences. I'm giving you the general norms to keep you all safe. I agree with the gentleman about the front and back. We don't do that. So lesson learned. You took one for the team. Now we all know. And I'm actually going to let you finish before I actually talk about the staple, but go ahead.
I was thinking of it from a different angle. Like you have 2 pages,
Okay?
front and back. No, 2 pages actually, and you don't staple. 1 page could just go missing and mix up with someone else's own. That's what I was thinking of.
That's where I thought we were going to go. Does anybody, well, let me say this. You do not put a staple in a resume. Again, somebody may tell you to. And if that's the Amazon grad recruiter and that's where you want to work, you say, forget Mr. Fletcher, I'm about to put a staple in this resume. That's what they want. And when I walk by and I see you and I say, what is with the staple? Just give me the look. Mr. Fletcher, I got it, I know. And I'll back up and find you somewhere later and you explain it to me and we'll be fine. But I'm saying this, no staple, but how do you avoid, or what do you do to make sure that that scenario doesn't happen?
You have to have your name on each page of and a page number, maybe.
So page number wouldn't necessarily be wrong, but I'm not saying it has to happen. What I advise is in your header, you would have in the upper right last name dash phone number. If you have a CV that's 3, 4, 5 pages, whatever, and only if you're applying for positions out of the US or academic positions, you should do the same thing. Because people are turning in resumes and piles get stuff and it's folks going everywhere. You all will see who go to the National Black MBA with us, it's 300 folks in a conference room. Some of these companies are bringing 10, 15 people down and everyone's just grabbing resumes and they're all over the place. So it's a very valid concern of, man, if I am at 2 pages, how do I make sure that this thing stays together? But then I don't want to send the wrong signal that I don't know by having the staple. Last name dot phone number. And why is that important? Because if all of a sudden I lose page 1 and I'm still trying to find you, I at least have a name and a number to call you. I like what I'm seeing on page 2. Can you send me page 1? That's the way you work through the scenario. But again, if they tell you directly, I want a staple, give them a staple. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what exactly is wrong with front and back?
What's wrong with the staple?
The front and back scenario.
If you think about it, I'm going through my resumes. 3,000, the system let me down to 70, got me down to 75. And remember, I'm doing my yep, no, yep, no, yep, no. Well, guess what I'm doing? Turning them over. Because maybe I'm in a cubicle, maybe I'm not in an office, maybe my colleague across the way personally knows people, or maybe their son or daughter is involved in this process. There's a lot of compliance things around making sure there isn't favoritism and you're looking at things from an objective way. If that's my practice and I'm turning the front and back over, it's information about you on the back. On the back of that piece of paper. Problem. And that's only one of the examples of how and why it can be a problem. It's not, and it's also not customary. I've been, during my time with Dr. Pepper Snapple, I've been at those recruiting events, and there are times that I would take a resume, turn it over, and put notes on it. I can't really put notes on the back if your information's there, because I may have to forward it to somebody, copy it, put it into a file, that kind of thing. So that's another reason, just not customary. Now again, eco-friendly. I get the simplicity and ease of it. And you know what? If you're applying for some sustainability, nonprofit tree hugging, they may say oh my gosh, I can't believe, you do it on the front and back. So again, knowing preference and policy is very valuable. But generally speaking, when you don't know it, the unwritten rule and the way to go would be no staple. If you have to go to the 2 pages, last name, phone number. If you want to put a page number, your preference. Any other questions? All right. And lastly, cover letters. Very simple here, folks. T-style cover letters. This is as concise and simple as it gets. I've actually got one here. I realize it's probably an eye chart. First paragraph, again, 2-3 lines. We're not talking about anything major here. The job title and position. How you found out about the job. Did you meet someone at the career fair at Morgan State? Did you see it posted on LinkedIn? Did you look on the company's website and saw the posting? Something about the company. I really want to work for Amazon because you all have industry-leading annual growth. I'm very interested in your recent acquisition of blank. I've read your company's strategy in expanding into such and such market. You don't need to give me a lot, again, 2 or 3 sentences, but make me feel good. Let me know that you know something about me. Second paragraph, underline 2 very important words, qualifications and requirements. This is where we again go to the job description. And we don't have to take every bullet in the job description. Some job descriptions are simple, 3 to 5 bullet points. Others are 2-3 pages and paragraphs. You guys go through the job description, find the 3, maybe 4 major points of what they're looking for as far as requirements. And what you do is you put them on the right, on the left, your requirements. Quick bullet form. On the right, your qualifications. If they want someone who has a master's degree, master's required. 2017 graduate, Grave School of Business. If they want someone who has 10 years of experience and manage people, 10 years of experience manage people, 12 plus years at Dr. Pepper Snapple, managed team of 8, and $60 billion P&L. Why is this so valuable and so important? Because you're almost dummy proofing it. When someone's got to think through, I wonder if they're really qualified or not. Whoa, time out. It's right here. You don't even have to read that much. It's bulleted. You want someone that has these 3 things. I have them all. Dummy proof. And it doesn't take that much time to do. Everybody seeing the point here? Mm-hmm. Then, all you throw, and again, you're concise in the T format, and then at the end, it's ask for a meeting. I look forward to speaking with you in more detail about this opportunity and understanding next steps in the selection process. I'm available next Tuesday, next Wednesday afternoons. I can be reached at. Simple. Once you get this down, this is a 10-minute exercise. And especially if you're focused in those 1 or 2 major areas, these bullet points and things is going to be copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. This is something that you would customize for each opportunity. Any questions, thoughts, perspectives? Nothing? Man, I must have been really good today. All right. Again, I'll reiterate and remind the importance of follow-up. We talked about it once, but if you are leveraging relationship professors, classmates, Mr. Fletcher, Mr. Wells, other Morgan alum from your undergrad to connect you, make sure you send a quick thanks. Here's what happened. Great conversation, blah, blah, blah. Keep those folks engaged. They want to know how these things worked out. And even if it turned to nothing, oh, we had a great, conversation, look forward to staying in touch, keep it positive. Very important aspect to this and to expanding your network. And if there isn't any more, then that's it. Again, Wednesday, third assignment, resumes. If you have questions, you all know how to find me. Thanks so much. What, did we decide on the date?
No, but how about Thursday? Or Tuesday? Tuesday or Thursday?
All right, we'll let you know.
Probably busy someone. Probably busy someone.
We're talking the 7th.
Oh, all right, yeah, or Thursday.
We'll see. Well, here's the bigger
If
thing.
you want
What
to
time is that? You're, because you have 5 to 6 on Tuesday and Thursday.
I'm going to see
I can see you when you get less
So
than.
if it's easier for
You
you,
get less than.
But,
some days where you have class and then we
yeah,
can
yeah,
do
I was sitting
5:30 or
with
5
one
or
question.
whatever, then.
I knew that all my.
But she don't try. Why she go put that? That's what she did number one.
That's even better.
That was the last number. See what she did? I was thinking like 2 minutes left when I started that.
When I said I was tired, that's what was.
But she had the same calculation in Goa.
Yes,
that everybody had the same
calculation, but different theoretical.
Well,
I think so too. I think that this is asked. We'll dig a little deeper into some of the information. So I'm
Yes,
saying,
yeah,
what's
also,
challenging me? I'm
15
saying-
times from top 15.
Expected.
I got 16.
Oh.
This is my last.
What did you get? 16 of it.
I got 16.
Or.
Like, when I was picking my slap.
I'll pass, even at that.
Wow, you're not doing your assignment. You're not doing your assignment too.
Which one?
Nice one.
Tony, let's go to
No have time for back to we were doing 600 yesterday. So every night after that close, one must pay right. Oh, that yesterday, she don't try, but
How was it?
it was beautiful.
Did you get your score to take back?
No.
So the council.
All of us we came out to the zero class where the lab just over 2 hours doing it.
No worry, we'll work on this one. as
Calculations
well.
of various.
put it to one page now.
You adjusted it.
Yes.
So wait a minute, let me get this.
Basically, that
You don't want to get counted anymore? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No. I just have to, I just put something there.
About.
You thought of something better than accounting?
No, I think I
Okay.
that's what I was.
Oh, okay.
You can speak Yoruba.
I just like it too.
Most like the functional accounting we got. Are there any functions you are No. So
Oh,
do you go to accounting for Macy's
I didn't know that
and
you
JC Penney's and retail? Are you gonna do accounting for, a manufacturing railroad company?
I don't know why they don't talk about,
Gas
they don't talk
company?
about.
You wanna do accounting for a nonprofit
Don't talk about
education?
construction. But construction is a business. Construction is a business. Construction is a
And
business.
again, I'm not necessarily saying.
Basically, just give.
You just like to see the same time you say.
This is America. That you're saying, I want to do accounting and I want to do accounting for like Shell, Exxon, where you're really focusing to that industry, that I would add that.
The cable in America is different.
You learn now. You learn by experience.
Here. So instead of the organization, I would say something around the industry, or, because, like, here's what it boils down to, and this is a very complicated game. You want to be specific to let people know that you're serious about this is really what you want to do and where you want to do it. But then at the same time, you don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face. You don't want to say, I want to work in oil and gas, because Amazon might say, we like Tony. You see what I'm doing? But in here, I feel it's a little general. Where is